Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In today's video, I want to talk about the 49ers 23-20 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. This was a really interesting game, back and forth. There's a lot of good that we're going to talk about. There's some bad we're going to talk about, and there's certainly some ugly that we're going to talk about. But overall, it really took me most of today to kind of gather my thoughts on how I feel about the team and how I feel about yesterday's matchup. Now, again, it's always good news when the 49ers come away with a victory, so I'm really happy about that. But we're going to delve into it. But before that, really quickly, we're going to run the intro, but also I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who attended yesterday's stream. It was a whole lot of fun, albeit maybe and definitely a lot more stressful than what it should have been. But I just want to say thank you for those who were at the stream. But let's run the intro and we'll get stuck into the video. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly from this matchup. And for a matchup that's not a division game, that's not like it's a playoff, berth on the line or anything like that, there's a lot to talk about in this, and what may look from the outside in to be a fairly uneventful game, as a 49er fan, there is just, a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. So when we talk about the good from this game, what I thought was really great actually was Brock Purdy. Purdy, I thought, was phenomenal. I believe it was his best game of the season. Whether the statistics back that up or not, I thought Brock Purdy was awesome. 25 for 36, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also did a really good job picking up a first down with his legs throughout the course of the game. But I thought Brock Purdy was excellent. Distributed the ball really well. He was really good under duress. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, seemingly for half the time Brock Purdy dropped back, had a free rusher coming from his right, from the right side of the offensive line, and he was able to get the ball away quickly, efficiently, effectively, accurately, and gave his receivers a chance to make a play. He also was able to, hang tough in the pocket, made some really good throws when you knew he was about to get hit. Also, of course, you look at the George Kittle touchdown, buying time with his legs, keeping his eyes downfield, and then making an excellent throw to the corner of the end zone. And I also really liked that pass to Christian McCaffrey where it looked like somewhat of a broken play, and then Purdy's able to kind of launch it up, puts a bunch of air underneath that throw, which allows McCaffrey to be able to locate the ball and have enough time to kind of outstretched hands, catches it, and then also picks up a bunch of yak. So I thought Purdy was really, really good and really, really efficient, which was awesome to see. Some other really positives to talk about were all of the receivers. All of them. Juwan Jennings, I thought, had a really great game. 7 catches, 93 yards. Ricky Pearsall gets his first NFL touchdown. Congrats to him. 46-yard reception. Also had a number of other key receptions. McCaffrey, 6 catches, 68 yards. Debo, 5 catches, 62 yards. Had one really nice catch. Vintage Debo, like a slant route over the middle, catches it, breaks away from a tackle, picks up about maybe 20 yards of yak. You'd love to see that. And then, of course, George Kittle, 3 catches, 57 yards, had the awesome touchdown reception in the corner of the end zone. Also had a really nice play before the end of the half where Purdy had a play action bootleg, comes back to Kittle. Kittle makes 2 guys miss and gets about 30 yards of yak, which is, again, like a vintage George Kittle type play. So you love to see it. Also, there was no false starts, there was no holding calls or anything against the receivers. So a really good game by the receivers. There's a couple of times you look at Brock Purdy, and this is, I think, a credit to, just one of those things where credit to Purdy and the receivers. He gave the receivers a couple of opportunities. Look at Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings in the end zone. I think the Tampa Bay DBs just played those particular throws really well. Jennings was in good position, Ricky Pearsall in pretty good position. Couldn't come down with them, but I think it's more credit to the Tampa Bay defensive backs as opposed to a knock on the receivers or Purdy. But yeah, really good game overall there. Some other really good things to talk about is you have the pass defense from the San Francisco 49ers. Baker Mayfield, 18 of 29 for 116 yards and 1 touchdown. There was almost no efficiency there from Baker Mayfield. 4 yards per attempt is not good, and especially when you factor in that there was no Charvarius Mooney-Ward. And of course, we know the situation with Ward, and he'll take as much time as he needs, and that's absolutely fine. And we just hope the best for the Ward family. In his absence, Renardo Green stepped up and did a fantastic job. The rookie played really, really well on the outside, had a really nice pass breakup where the one time that Baker Mayfield actually threw the ball down the field to Scotty Miller in the end zone, Renardo Green gets his hands kind of in between it, knocks it away for a really solid pass breakup. But really, the Buccaneers were forced to throw everything underneath and just for short gains. And I think that the Niners defense, the pass defense, was good. I'm not going to say it was excellent or great because we did have some pretty untimely penalties with regards to, rushing the passer with, I know Fred Warner got hit with a penalty. I think Evan Anderson got hit with one too. Malik Collins got hit with one. So not perfect by any means, but good. When you force a quarterback to only have 116 passing yards on 29 attempts, your pass defense is playing pretty darn well. Now, though, let's move on to some of the bad. Some of the bad, I think, in this game was the run offense. Overall, as a team, we had 22 rushes for 75 yards, 3.4 yards per carry, and that's just not good enough, and that's not something that you ever really see when you look at Kyle Shanahan with the talents of a guy like a Christian McCaffrey. So I think the run offense really struggled in blocking, especially to the left side of the offensive line. It seemed like, and I have to look at the stats, but it just, from my general feeling from watching the game, it seemed like we had more success running to the right or basically just running right up the middle. Tampa Bay did a really good job defending some of our runs, those toss plays, the plays to Debo. Overall, the run offense just wasn't there, and it felt like so many times we were in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, and that's a credit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run defense. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their defense, I thought, played pretty darn well. I mean, you look at, Purdy, 350 passing yards and whatnot, but I thought their defense played pretty well, even though they're not ranked very highly when you look at, yards given up and scores and all that. But the run offense definitely struggled, and I think this is going to kind of carry on into my next point, which is the red zone offense was just another big time struggle again in yesterday's game. 3 trips to the red zone, only 1 touchdown, and they took that fantastic, phenomenal throw from Brock Purdy to George Kittle. Definitely like an off-script play, so not the way that it was drawn up. It kind of feels like so many times we get to, even like when it's like end goal to go, it's 1st and goal from the 9 or from the 10. And I feel like last year we'd run a play and we get maybe 6 or 7 yards. So suddenly it's 2nd and goal from the 3. That is not happening this season. We have 1st and goal from the 9 or from the 10. We're maybe getting a yard, losing a yard. Suddenly you're at 2nd and goal from the 10, the 11-yard line. It's a condensed field, which gives the defense all the advantage, makes it so much more difficult on the offense, and it's hurting us big time. And look, ultimately, we were able to come away with the win yesterday, but when you play the likes of at Green Bay, at Buffalo, against Detroit, it's not going to be good enough. You have to be getting 7 a lot more frequently than what we're doing. We were kind of hoping that would be fixed over the course of the bye week, maybe in time when McCaffrey's kind of more, got that time and that chemistry back with Brock Purdy, but they definitely need to be constantly looking at ways to improve the red zone offense, because this offense has shown no inability to be able to move the ball. Yards per game, the 49ers are number 2 in the NFL on offense, but we just can't put the ball in the end zone, and that's the biggest issue, especially when you compare to how good we were in the red zone last year. Maybe that's just a result of missing Brandon Ayuk, who seemed to always have touchdowns in the red zone, but I do think that we still have more than enough talent to be able to get the ball to where it needs to go. Another bad I think I want to talk about just pretty quickly is Kyle Shanahan's time management, especially at the end of the first half. Now, the Buccaneers, coming out of the 2-minute warning, they had a 3rd and 5, if I'm not mistaken. We get a stop on 3rd and 5. I think they lose a couple of yards. I would have called timeout immediately. We had all 3 timeouts. So then when you factor in after that play, you factor in the field goal attempt that they had, we probably would have had maybe a minute 45, a minute 47, if I remember right, with 2 timeouts when we get the ball back after the field goal. Instead, we let the clock just run all the way down. Tampa Bay's happy to let the clock run all the way down. We eventually get the ball back with a minute 14 left. We do have all 3 timeouts. And I understand where maybe Shanahan's thinking, okay, we have a minute 14, you have 3 timeouts, you're probably getting the ball around the 30-yard line. That's more than enough time, especially with those timeouts. And maybe that's true, but I still don't like letting all those seconds just get away from you when it could be really used to move the ball upfield and get out of bounds. And then you save a timeout, you still have those extra 30 seconds to work with. But then after that, we hit a pass, I believe it was to Jawan Jennings. We get upfield, we get to the Buccaneers maybe 35 or so yard line, and obviously all the players, it was a pretty big gain, maybe like 25, 30 yards, and it was a pretty big gain, and all the players then of course have to rush up to the, to the line of scrimmage, get set. By the time we snap the ball, there's maybe 30 something seconds left. Instead of using a timeout, which that would have again conserved about maybe 25 seconds, but you don't, you run a play that's broken play, incomplete, it took a number of seconds off the clock, almost intercepted, I think, and suddenly then you're in a 2nd and long, you're outside of that kind of field goal range, more time has come off the clock, you still have all 3 timeouts, and I just wasn't crazy about it. Maybe the analytics would say otherwise, maybe it would say he did the right thing. I just would disagree with it. Not a fan of how he handled that. I'd rather have the time and maybe, and we were showing an ability to move the ball. I understand if we had like 50 yards of offense all first half, we were constantly going 3 and out. Maybe you don't want to give Tampa Bay the ball back, but I just thought it was just a bad decision to let that time go to waste, especially when the offense was showing an ability to move the ball. So that's just my opinion there. Let's move on to the ugly, though. And I think we all know where I'm going to go with this. It's 2 guys. It's Jake Moody and then special teams coordinator Brian Schneider. Jake Moody, what else can you say? He missed 3 field goals, and 3 field goals, 50 yards or less. If he missed those 3 field goals and they were 56, 59 yards, fair enough. You'd still like to hit one of those 3. But they were all 50 yards, between 50 and 44 yards, I think. He missed all 3. I understand maybe, coming back from injury, that may have been a factor, especially maybe how he missed the first field goal in those 3 misses. But then you have to be able to adjust, whatever angle you're kicking, yada, yada, yada. You got to be hitting 2 out of 3 of those at minimum when it's less than 50 yards. And it just put the 49ers in really bad situations. Not only were we not putting up points on the board, but then the defense is kind of put in a bad situation because even if it's like let's say a 45-yard field goal, then the Buccaneers take over at their own 35. So just not a good situation at all. Jake Moody, I don't really have a ton of confidence in him. To be fair, he did kick the game-winning field goal. Just about went in, just between the right upright. It was really close. I would not have liked to have been on that flight if he missed that kick. But yeah, I thought Jake Moody was not good. The one positive which you can say is, yes, he hit the game-winning field goal, and then also you can talk about, too, the fact that every kick was a touchback, so you don't have the stress of kick returns. But I think Jake Moody, look, we're not going to be cutting him today or tomorrow. We're absolutely going to give him at least, some more time, and I expect to see him out there on Sunday, and I expect Kyle Shanahan, should there be a situation, maybe it's like 4th and 5 from the Seahawks 31, I don't think Shanahan will hesitate. I think he'll put Jake Moody out there to kick the field goal, and I think you do have to put that trust and that faith into your kicker to give them the confidence, like, hey, the coach still believes in me. And that Jake Moody's going to be spending a lot of time practicing this week, but I do think Shanahan's going to show that faith and confidence in Moody to be able to make the kick, and hopefully Moody can, reward that confidence and just really come through when we need him to. He did make some big kicks when you look at the playoffs last year, also missed a couple, but then you look at Brian Schneider and the special teams, it's kind of hard to say because when it comes to the special teams, Like, is it Brian Schneider's fault that Jake Moody missed those kicks? I don't think so. I mean, what can a special teams coordinator really do to coach the kicker to kick the ball? The special teams coordinator, of course, can coach up the guys ahead to, like, here's the blocking. If, the other team's going to rush this way, here's what you do. And none of the kicks were blocked. So I don't really put the missed kicks on Brian Schneider, but when you just look at special teams as a whole, it's not ideal. And then, of course, there was the fumble. Jacob Cowing fumbled the ball. Not Cowing's fault. The ball kind of came down. Darrell Luter kind of got pushed by the Tampa Bay gunner, kind of got pushed. I thought initially he got pushed into Cowing, but kind of got pushed right beside him. Tricky situation for Cowing, but it's happened to Darrell Luter in the Super Bowl. Then it happens here, where the same thing basically happens. So that's got to be corrected. And it seems, but here's the thing: if this was just one bad game, I'm not going to be destroying Brian Schneider. But it feels like every game this season, there's something going on. Whether it's crazy punt returns, penalties here, fumbles there, it's just. Almost every week it seems like there's something going wrong with the special teams, and that's not good, because when it comes to close games towards getting into the real important part of the season, that can be the difference between winning and losing. That can be the difference between going to the playoffs and not, between, let's say, a number 2 seed and a number 7 seed. So it's really important that we clean these up. I don't honestly have a ton of faith that he will be able to clean them up. I hope that he can, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. We didn't make a move. Kyle Shanahan said he has faith in Brian Schneider. Whether I believe him or not, that doesn't really matter. But I think there will be changes in the offseason, and ideally we just have a complete overhaul there on the special teams, because it hasn't been good for quite some time. But look, I've talked a lot of bad and a lot of ugly for the last maybe 5-10 minutes. So let's go back to some good just while we finish off this video. And some good is, look, Ricky Pearsall first NFL touchdown, and he's looking like a player. 73 yards and a touchdown, that's a good outing for any kind of receiver. Then you think Christian McCaffrey being back. I think Christian McCaffrey looks good. He played the vast majority of the snaps, and it's just great to have him back, where he makes things a lot easier for the offense. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but the game yesterday, there were so many times where maybe it was, 2nd and 10, and then McCaffrey just, gets open underneath and picks up 8 yards. And then suddenly, and it's just a simple play. Purdy takes a snap. McCaffrey runs like a little Texas route or a little choice route. And then Purdy just dumps it off to him, 8 yards, bam, it's 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9. So McCaffrey definitely makes things easier. I think it's going to be good to see, Purdy and McCaffrey rebuild that chemistry that they had last season, especially in the passing game and especially hopefully in the red zone. But great to have McCaffrey back. Great to have Ricky Pearsall looking good. This rookie class has looked awesome so far for the 49ers. John Lynch and co doing a great job there. But just wanted to end the video on a positive note, and we did win. So you do have to celebrate that, even though it was frustrating, it was nerve-wracking, it was way more stressful than it should have been. We did get the win, so that's a positive there, guys. But there you have it. I just wanted to get my thoughts on the game just out onto a video. I'm sorry if the video was just all over the place, but I just needed to get my thoughts out there, because I spent all day at work thinking about the game, where I was just like, I don't really know what to make of it, so I just had to just get my thoughts out there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed me rambling on about the 49ers 23-20 victory over the Buccaneers. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and what are some of your takeaways from this game. And let's try not to be too harsh on Jake Moody, although maybe he deserves it. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. Of course, like, subscribe, and feel free to share the video on any and all social media. It really helps out the channel, helps the channel to grow. I'll for sure be doing the 49ers against the Seahawks. Maybe I'll have another video or two out during the week. But just want to say thank you for watching. Appreciate you. And before I head out, I'm going to say 2 things. The butt counts, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.